What is going on, everybody? Welcome into Talkin BS. I am your host, as always, Steven Zamora. If you can, please, I ask that you follow me on Twitter at ZamoraBSB. That'll be the best place for any and all show updates. And if you've clicked on this link, you already know what time it is. Today, we're doing an off-season preview for the Sacramento Kings. Now, if you are a Kings fan and you are new here, here is how this is going to go down. First off, we're going to cover the weaknesses that you need to improve on, the tools that you have at your disposal to get better. We're going to come up with a checklist of must-dos that the front office must take care of. Then we're going to go over the draft, some trade options, free agency, and at the end, have a nice graphic with a final rotation. Hopefully a nice 10-man rotation that we can be really proud of going into the next season and something to get you guys really excited for. So without further ado, let's get into it. The Sacramento Kings off-season preview. So last year, Sacramento had a bit of a disappointing season. They came to this season after going and having a very successful season in the 22-23 season and ending up a top 3 seed to this year, not even making the playoffs. They largely brought back the same core, the same people as they had the year before, thought they could just run it back and continuity would take them over the top. But the West got stacked. The West got super crazy, super deep. So unfortunately, you guys weren't able to make the playoffs. A few games here or there where you guys just, lost a big lead or lost in the final seconds of a game. I mean, this team was very close to being a 50-win team. And, 46 wins and not even making the playoffs is just wild. That's how deep this Western Conference was this year. I think the continuity thing, it's not a terrible idea, right? I think it's not a failure of a season, but you do need to improve. And here's some statistical stuff that you guys weren't great at that we could definitely improve on heading into next season. You were 8th in the league in points per game, 18th in points allowed per game, 21st in opponent effective field goal percentage, 29th in opponent three-point percentage, 21st in opponent shooting percentage, 29th in blocks per game, 22nd in fourth quarter points, and 26th in free throws made per game. The big one, though, is that fourth quarter points, 22nd and fourth quarter points. Down the stretch of games, the game kind of got away from you. And a lot of it can be attributed to being 26th in the league and free throws made per game as well, right? So now we're going to look at some of the tools that you have at your disposal to get better and improve this team. You have the 13th overall pick in the draft, the 45th overall pick in the second round, Harrison Barnes, Kevin Huerter, and Davion Mitchell contracts that could be traded. With cap holds, the Kings are just over the first apron and have access to the TPMLE, $5.2 million. If Monk leaves, they will have access to the NTMLE, which is $12.9 million. 25 and 26 are at least top 12 protected, and they own all of their own picks from 27 through 2030. Next up, we're going to come up with the checklist of must-dos that your front office must take care of before we go any further into the future. First, we need to find the right formula. We don't let Malik walk. Keep Keegan Murray's development trending up. Do we try to find an upgrade on the wing or the guard? De'Aaron Fox extension in the works. So a big one there is the Malik Monk contract. That's going to be a big one going on in this episode. We're going to discuss that quite a bit because that is basically your main thing that you need to focus on in this offseason. We also, like I said, we want to keep Keegan Murray's development trending upwards. As of right now, I consider the core for the Kings, De'Aaron Fox, Domantas Sabonis, and Keegan Murray. How can we best utilize those three guys and find some pieces that fit those guys and make them better and, in turn, make the team better? So we're going to look at the NBA draft. And I know there's a lot of Kings fans out there that, they want to trade that 13th overall pick because then you can turn that into like a veteran player or a productive, right now player. To me, and what we're going to do in this episode, we're going to keep that pick. In my opinion, having those young guys come in and make an impact on cheap contracts is what a great team needs in order to keep succeeding, right? If you make it past the first or the second apron, you have so many different implications and just all these different rules put on you that make it super hard to just keep getting better. In free agency, you're going the vet minimum path and you're just signing guys year after year after year and never having any continuity or anything like that. So to me, in my opinion, this is a lottery pick. Let's keep this pick. Let's see what we could get with that 13th overall pick. So on the left here, we have a big board provided by CBS. On the right is a big board provided by Tankathon. And the big one in the middle is a big board provided by The Ringer. And as you'll see in this draft, there's not a ton of big upside swings. There's not a Victor Wembanyama. There is not an Anthony Edwards or anything like that. But there are a lot of really good players. You can get a very good player, a good role player here, especially at 13, because something I keep saying is that there's not a huge difference between 1 and 5, and then there's not a huge difference between 10 and 30. It's a very deep class. When people say it's a weak draft class, it's because there's no superstars. There's not a lot of projected superstars. I believe it was the Anthony Bennett draft. Giannis came out of it. And it was supposed to be one of the weakest drafts in recent memory, and you ended up getting the Greek Freak, one of the best players in the league, out of it. So every draft is going to have guys like that. In my opinion, what we're going to do with that 13th overall pick is this team needs some more dog in it, right? This team needs some more attitude. JaVale McGee went on a show recently and told the guys on the show, like, nobody was afraid of us. Nobody was worried about us. There's too many nice guys on this team. So what I want to do with this 13th overall pick is bring in some toughness, bring in some attitude, bring in some grit. So with that 13th pick, my opinion is we get Devin Carter from Providence. Some of the positives about him: his heart and hustle, that dog mentality. He's a super athlete, great rebounder for his size, very good defender. He can finish through contact, and he's very long. I believe he has like a 6'10" wingspan on a 6'2", 6'3" body, right? That's crazy. But there are some negatives to him, right? He is 6'2", 6'3", and he's not a great playmaker or anything like that. He's not like a pure point guard. He's not really even, a lot of the times he's really not even a point guard. He's more of a shooting guard forward type, but he is only 6'2", 6'3". So positional versatility is going to be kind of a weird fit for him. He does have troubles, like I said, beating press and stuff like that, and his handle is not elite, but he's not a pure point guard, right? Could work on his mid-range shot. He has like a funky shooting motion, like it's real slow and like clunky. And his off-ball offense, could use some work. Now, he was a really good shooter in his last year at Providence, but he was a bad shooter before that. So there are questions about his shooting ability. They don't know if it's actually going to be reliable. And so he ended up shooting 38% from three, but, I think the year before was 33. I've seen comps for him for Bruce Brown. I've seen comps for him as for Derek White. To me, he's Josh Hart. That's, his rebounding prowess, his defense, and his hustle and heart and dog mentality. I think you're adding a Josh Hart to the team. All right, so now that we got that taken care of, let's look at some trade options. To me, I want to upgrade that wing position in between Keegan Murray and Domantas Sabonis, because my hope is that we can re-sign Malik Monk. I want to upgrade the spot where Harrison Barnes plays. Not that Harrison Barnes is bad or anything like that, but I think we can get something who fits a little bit better. And if we can keep Barnes on the team as well, all the better. So to Sacramento, we would receive Jeremy Grant and the 34th overall pick in the 2024 draft. To Portland, they would get Wendell Carter Jr., Davion Mitchell, Chris Duarte, Jet Howard, the 18th overall pick in the 24 draft, a 2025 first via Denver from Orlando, a 2027 first via Sacramento, and Orlando would get Anthony Simons, Kevin Huerter, and Robert Williams III. So let's cover the other teams first. Orlando, right? You're getting Anthony Simons, Kevin Huerter, and Robert Williams. So you're getting another center in there in place of Wendell Carter Jr., who instead can protect the rim a little bit better. He's a better athlete. It's just a little change of pace for the center position. He does need to stay healthy, but if he does, I think he's arguably better than Wendell Carter Jr. And then you're also getting a couple guards who can space the floor, create some shots, and open up the floor for Paolo and Franz. For Portland, you're moving off of Simons and Jeremy Grant, and you're getting a ton of youth, bunch of draft picks, and a bunch of young guys that you can build around Shaedon Sharpe and Scoot Henderson. To me, that's kind of a no-brainer. You get a ton of picks. Every pick you get is a draft pick that you're going to end up needing to build around those young guys. And now for Sacramento, you're getting Jeremy Grant and 34th overall pick in the draft. So the 34th pick, we're not going to worry about that right now. But Jeremy Grant, he fits perfectly in between Keegan Murray and Domantas Sabonis. He can handle some of the bigger wings defensively. He's a very good athlete. super athlete. He was really good in the same role when he was in Denver. He's a shot creator, which is something that you need big time. A big thing that I noticed in the play-in against New Orleans is you guys kind of lacked another shot creator. When Malik Monk was hurt, it just went off the rails. So bring in another shot creator, a guy who can make his own shot, right? Who can get his own buckets. I think that's going to be crucial for this team. And if you can get him to buy in, and he spent a lot of time being the number one. He went to Detroit and he was the number one there. He went to Portland, he was the number one there. This age, man, fit in with the team now. Let's win now. Let's winning time. You're 30 years old, man. Play your role. You still get a ton of buckets here. You're going to get a bunch of opportunities. Just play your role and you'll be set, man. You'll still make all your big money. Your contract is still guaranteed for 4 years. So you get the best of both worlds. You get to make your money, you get your shots, and you get to win. So now it gets interesting. We're going to head into free agency, right? So let's take a look at Sacramento's cap situation. As currently constructed, the Kings have $152.1 million committed to the players under contract for next season. Sacramento doesn't hold any team options, so there's no built-in flexibility with the roster. The front office must be creative to make changes while likely staying below the projected luxury tax of $172 million. David Kenyon of the Bleacher Report. The Kings would be wise to offer Malik the entire $78 million four-year contract they can offer, but he would likely be able to make more on the open market. Unless. So the reason I have unless there is it gets complicated, okay? Instead of offering Malik the 4-year $78 million that you guys can offer him, because he did come in only as a free agent making, I think, $9 million a year on a 2-year deal, you can only sign him to so much money because you have early bird rights, but you don't have full bird rights to him. So in this scenario, what you would do is you would terminate your early bird rights on him. You would sign him for 120% of his current contract. So he'd end up making, I think, like $10.5 million, something like that. So then you would have him for the 3 years on the team. So that next off season, you could technically offer him a max contract. The only thing is that if the league found out that you guys had planned this beforehand, it could be cap circumvention, and then you could get in trouble for it, losing draft picks or, stuff like that. So there is an option. I'm not saying it is the smart way to do it, but it is an option. Like I said, you're going to have to convince Monk that that's the smart thing to do, which is very hard to convince an NBA player to take a 1-year contract because it is it is a sport, and there's a very good chance he could get hurt. So, just throwing that out there. Now, I'm running a little long, so let's run through some rumored free agents here. You don't really need guards, and plus the guard market's a little thin. Just for instance, Spencer Dinwiddie, Reggie Jackson on a player option, Kyle Lowry, Patrick Beverley is suspended. So these are kind of your best options that you can get with that TMLE. That $5 million, that's about who you can afford as a guard. You don't really need a guard too bad anyway, so let's look at some wings. Derek Jones Jr., Royce O'Neal, Gordon Hayward, Najee Marshall, Haywood Highsmith, Jayshawn Tate, team option. Now, there are some really good wings out there that I think would fit your guys' team really well. To me, out of all those, my favorite is Derek Jones Jr. I think if you guys got him, he'll add some real vertical pop to your team. He's a pretty good defender, and this team could use some more athleticism and a player just like Derek Jones Jr., in my opinion. So if it's me and you have that TPMLE, I'm offering that full thing to Derek Jones Jr. and seeing if he'll come to the team for like a 2, maybe 3-year contract. And in case you want a big man, Andre Drummond, Dario Saric, Daniel Tice, Mason Plumlee. So some big man options there. I know Alex Len is a free agent. JaVale McGee is a free agent. If you don't want to bring either of those guys back, those are some options. I think Plumlee would be a really good fit just because he's kind of a similar play style to Sabonis, right? He's a big post-up guy who can pass the ball a bit. Drummond is a change of pace kind of guy. You guys could lead the league in rebounds with Sabonis and Drummond on the team. Like, you will not fall off in the rebounding category when Sabonis hits. So that's an option. Saric is, a change of pace. He's a floor stretcher. He could pass a little bit too. So there's an option. All right. And now we're going to look at the final rotation that we've come up with. Now we're going to bring a lot of the same pieces back because, like I said, continuity was probably the best option here. But we do have some improvements, and they are going to solve a lot of those statistical weaknesses that we displayed in the first graphic. So we got De'Aaron Fox backed up by Devin Carter, Malik Monk backed up by Keon Ellis, Keegan Murray backed up by Derek Jones Jr., Jeremy Grant backed up by Harrison Barnes, and Domantas Sabonis backed up by Alex Len. So let's start with the guards. De'Aaron Fox and Malik Monk go together really well. They played together at Kentucky. They're boys. we're going to try to make sure we keep that tandem together. I'm going to try to keep Malik Monk here with every bit of power that I can. If he goes somewhere else, he goes somewhere else. That's why we drafted Devin Carter, to have some extra guard depth. If he does leave, you have the NTMLE. You can sign another guard for like $12 million. If that's the case, you could keep Herter. You don't have to trade him for Grant. All this can go back, and you could just use that NTMLE, and you can sign another guard. We're trying to keep it optimistic here, right? Let's keep Malik Monk. Let's make sure that he comes back to Sacramento. If he wants to play with De'Aaron Fox, his homeboy, for a long time, man, this is the way. I think this is the best path for him. You give him the starting job now. He doesn't have to worry about having to share that job with Herter or anything anymore, and he gets to start. Then you got Devin Carter and Keon Ellis as backups. If you play them two together, you're going to give teams hell just defensively. Nobody's getting by those guys. And then if you want to stagger your guards, you can do like a Fox and Keon Ellis. You can do Monk at the point guard with Devin Carter on the side of him. Any of these ways, right? Monk is a really good playmaker. Carter could play some point guard. I think that you've got a really good guard rotation right there. Then on your wings, you have Harrison Barnes, Keegan Murray, Jeremy Grant, and Derek Jones Jr. Same thing. You could play these guys anywhere along that front court. You could switch any of those guys. You could play Derek Jones Jr. with Jeremy Grant and have a ton of athleticism out there. You could play Harrison Barnes and Keegan out there for the chemistry. Like, you could go a bunch of different ways with these guys. And then Sabonis, and I'm going to bring Len back because I think he played pretty well in like the 10 to 15 minutes a game that you guys were giving him last season. He's a little bit of a change of pace. He's a good shot blocker, good rebounder, big body, set screens, does everything you want from a backup center. So there's no point in, not keeping him around. Give him another, minimum contract, bring him back on a 1-year deal, and, see if he can earn a bit bigger contract out of that. Then you're like 11, 12, 13, 14 guys. Vazenkov, he played really well. He's a good depth piece. You still got Trey Lyles on the team, and Kessler Edwards, bring him back. Like I said, we're going to try to keep continuity, and then the 34th overall pick in the second round could be a guard. That'd probably be my go-to right there, knowing that this is kind of the rotation that we're going for. So I don't know. I think this is a great lineup. Honestly, would be like, this is probably one of the best teams in the West. If I saw this rotation on paper, I'd be like, okay, they're serious now. They're a real team here. I'd probably assume you guys are definitely going to be in the playoffs at that point. But you never know, man. The West is so stacked. The West is insane. Hopefully this gets you to that 50 win mark. 50 wins, you should have a good playoff spot, but you never know. But I think as long as Sabonis is playing well, De'Aaron Fox is playing well, and Keegan Murray, like we said, keeps that development trending up. Huge year last year. I'm a big fan of Keegan Murray. I think that kid's going to be a star one day. And you got that big three, and now you're surrounding him with like legit talent. So much athleticism and playmaking and everything around them. Let me know down in the comments if you disagree with any choice that I made here. I know a lot of Kings fans wanted to trade that draft pick. If you want to keep that draft pick, let me know in the comments. If you want to do, a different trade, let me know. I'm all ears. I love hearing the feedback from you guys. So with that said, if you're still here, I appreciate you so much from the bottom of my heart. You guys are amazing. Wouldn't be here without you. Love y'all. Have a good one. Talking BS. We out.